Let's officially open the meeting now. Thank you. Everybody give yourself a round of applause. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. First, I'm going to introduce Brian Douglas, who's new to John Paul Catholic, but we go back as far as you can go back as video professionals, and I think everybody's very pleased that you have joined the fray here. Come on over and say hi.
Hi, everybody. Brian Douglas. So my former, before I came to JP Catholic 3 months ago, I was one of the owners of Digital Outpost for the last 23 years in Carlsbad, and been part of the community here for almost 30 years. And you know, over the years, it's been a great. It was ITVA for many years, then CII, and now SDMediaPros. But you know, all through it all, Tom's always been involved in it. So.
Well, come on.
So, yeah, you have a lot to learn tonight. I'm very proud to be part of JP Catholic University. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships. So my job is to lift up the brand of JP Catholic University in our community and announce that we actually have a film and business school, an art school here, that we can do both you know, innovative business and awesome art and film. So that's what I do. So there you go.
Excellent, excellent. Very, very good. Okay, so all introductions are done. San Diego Media Pros, or SDMediaPros, has been around in this iteration for 6 years now. I've been president for 3 years. My term is ending. We are always looking for people to help out and join the board. It's a way to create deeper relationships. I really feel like I've gotten to know people. Sure, the meetings are fantastic for networking and getting together, but working on the board deepens that. And then you also have an opportunity to make other professional connections as well as we reach out for sponsorships and things along those ways. So it's been very beneficial for me. And we are live. Did we remember to hit record, guys? Remember, gentlemen, did you remember to hit the record? You did. So we're recording. We're also live on YouTube and Facebook tonight. And then this video will find its way to the front page of SDMediaPros. Before I introduce our speakers, I'm representing the novice, okay? I have had my level of social media. Mickey and I put the slides together, and that's the nuts and bolts side of things. So I'm basically just going to MC, if you will. I'm going to hand it off to Mickey, and then she's going to explain the intent and what is going on with that step in the phase for each social media platform. And then we're going to toss it to our esteemed gallery here to fill in the blanks. So I'm going to have Danielle McClintock introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I am a professor of social media marketing here at JP Catholic. Before joining JP Catholic, I was the associate director of marketing at Yellow Line Digital, which is a strategic communications firm here in Escondido, actually across the street. I've done work with clients in the diamond industry. I did work with a nonprofit trying to promote one of their films, and also lots of other causes and brands. And I'm really excited to be here today because this is something that I'm really passionate about, and I think that anyone can take advantage of social media. And I know it can be intimidating to a lot of people, but it doesn't have to be.
I have my own, apparently.
There you go.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Culbertson. I'm chair of the business program and chair of the MBA in film producing program here at JP Catholic. I'm very pleased Danielle is joining us because she is the expert in this, and we're fortunate to have her here. My background, real briefly, I've been in most of your shoes. I started in broadcast television. I was a director at CNN, worked at PBS on the PBS NewsHour, Washington Week in Review, things like that. Was a member of the White House Press Corps for Tribune Broadcasting. And after several other things, worked actually in the internet space during the last bubble. Some of you may remember that, when all of us lost all of our investments back in 2000 and started over again because we all invested in MySpace. Who knows what we invested in? And have a variety of experience in owning and operating and running companies, selling them in mergers and acquisitions. So I'm going to basically fill out a little bit on the business side of how companies make money, essentially, and how you can make money or not make money with your projects. So thank you for inviting us. We appreciate it.
Great. Well, thank you, guys. And so let's see if that works. Okay, so this stack will be available for download after the event. So this is the basic beginning setup. So Mickey, explain what we're seeing here.
Okay, so when you're setting up your profiles, it's pretty easy to just go and grab something out of your phone and throw it in there. However, if you're trying to promote your business, you really want to respect how those images are going to show up in the various formats. So a lot of folks were using our mobile devices, whether they're tablets or phones, but we still have our laptops and desktops that we have to be aware of. So what you're seeing is that almost all profile images are going to be that little square. And there are various sizes that are recommended depending on the channel that you're putting it up on. The header image is a little bit different. So as you can see, there's the teal that's at the top and the bottom. Those parts of that image only show up or only visible on smaller mobile device screens. So when you're choosing your header, what you're planning on using, you need to bear in mind that that's going to change depending on the screen it's being viewed on. So the sizes that you see that are listed here are the recommended sizes. It's not the largest.
Which is
I can hear you talking. Battery's dead.
So the biggest thing is that you want to be able to, you want your images to load quickly and you want them to be consistent across your channel. Okay. Apparently we're using a handheld. I'm sorry. So basically what we're concerned about is that all of your channels should have a similar vibe, a similar look across them. So when you're choosing your header image, bear in mind all the different places you want to put it and how you want to use it. So when you're structuring this way, for Facebook, that bottom line, that's the bottom edge on a desktop, okay? But that's also your safe space, okay? So if you remember from doing any of your editing, that kind of thing, you have your safe parameters. That's your safe space. If you're going to have text on your image, it cannot be outside of that blue. Make sense?
Poke down here a couple here. So this is basically showing how things display. We'll bounce back and forth here. This is how things display in group. This is the way my page displays, and I think this is fairly typical. And then doing ads, we'll talk about that briefly, and then we'll jump into Instagram. But why don't we hand the mic over to Daniela, and we can talk about how do you implement your Facebook attack.
As far as like beginning strategy?
Yeah.
Okay. So at Yellow Line Digital, the very first thing we ever ask clients is, who do you want to reach and what do you want them to do? And that really simplifies things for you. You don't want to get everybody coming to your page. You probably don't even want to get most of the population. You want a very specific audience. And first of all, really honing in on that is important. And it's important whether you're trying to build your personal brand, like let's say you're an actor and you want to build your personal brand, that's important, as well as if you're trying to build your business. Everyone has a target audience. So
Could you tell me something about this right here? You see this little identifier that's not a hashtag, it's an @ sign, but this is kind of important. And when we get into Instagram, you're going to find out that, Facebook owns Instagram, and so when you're buying ads, you buy it through Facebook to get to Instagram. But the whole thing about the hashtag and what's in the hashtag, very important, and you want to start thinking about how are you displaying yourself to the world? How are you identifying yourself to the world so that they know who you are and they know what your interest is?
Right, so that you're identifiable by your target audience. They have an interest, and they see that, you know, your profile is it's easy to understand. Oh, okay, I'm interested in this, or you're using hashtags that they're interested in.
So how do you come
Instagram.
about this? Where does this come from? Is this just the name of your business? Would this show up as your name? How do you change it? Do you want to change it?
It should typically be the name of your business. It should be consistent through, you know, your
Now,
website.
what is the difference between the @ and the hashtag?
The @ is just like if you've heard of like a Twitter handle, it's your name on social media. It's just
So
where
if
are
you-
you at? You're
so if you
at
were-
this on Facebook. You're at
Okay,
this
so
on
if you were
Twitter.
putting a post together, almost like a mini blog, because now I'm hearing people use social media like Instagram or Facebook almost like a mini blog. You don't have to have a blog site necessarily. You can use these platforms as your mini blog, so you're getting your message out in that fashion. You're writing, you're including pictures, some video. You got to be careful with video. While it's important, I think maybe on Facebook video would be okay, but Instagram, it slows things down. Twitter even accepts video now. But in terms of load speeds, you know, you don't want to interrupt the swipe, right? You got to be careful about what you put in there.
Yeah.
But an interesting picture, and so if you were naming somebody at another Facebook site, you would you'd type this in.
Right, like let's say you did some work with somebody else and for a video, or maybe you're an actor and you want to tag whoever did your hair and makeup. You would just type out your post and then do, you know, say whatever you want to say and say thanks at, and then the name, however it shows up on their Facebook profile, you would type that in, and then Facebook will automatically create kind of like a hyperlink to their page. So that way you're connecting people to their page. And same thing with in a blog post, you're hoping sometimes for some kind of exchange. And yeah, you tag
Right.
them
So
and
this
they'll
is a
tag
way to
you
get,
eventually.
you know, you're working with people. All of us are always working with other people. So we all need to start supporting one another with each other's Facebook pages, okay? So when you do a project, you know, you sign in, sure, your email's great, but let's start including your hashtag. Let's start including your Facebook tag. Why is it, what's the term for the @ sign?
Handle.
Handle. That's the handle, okay. But let's start including that. So now somebody's going to, now we're not just going to have an email address. We're going to have a handle, and we're going to have a hashtag, minimum.
Right.
And we could have multiple hashtags, as we'll see a little bit later.
Right.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah. It depends on the platform how many hashtags you should add.
Exactly.
But-
You know, less is more
definitely.
still. Less is more because consistency of your message, less is more, because we're all human. We all get sick and tired of, oh my God, they're just too much, so I'm going to turn them off. You never want to press that button on someone.
Right. That's the key. It's giving valuable content to your target audience, content that they will be interested in, but then at the same time not overloading them. As you start to study different social media platforms, you'll notice that there's different acceptable times you can post in a day. For example, Twitter, you might go on someone's Twitter and notice that somebody is just posting, you know, every hour, and that's okay on Twitter. That's the norm. You don't want to look different than the norm. You start to stand out like a sore thumb, and people start to kind of put you on snooze. But on the other hand, Facebook, you can post, probably they say around twice a day is a good amount. Other than that, it starts to look outside of the norm. So you want to start to study social media platforms, see how other people behave, see how people you admire behave, or you could say your competitors, and make sure that you are not sticking out like a sore thumb, because that's when people start to get annoyed. and
It's always
turn
a
you off.
challenge, and when we're producing a new project, right? And we have this amazing idea, but if we go too far in a direction, there are things people expect, what they accept. So if you go too far outside of that realm of human ability to understand what you're trying to tell them, it's going to be, you're going to lose them and even possibly alienate them. Kevin, do you have something to add business-wise about how these kinds of things interact?
Yeah, just be aware when you do this and when you are linking back to someone, you're associating yourself with them. So anything that they've done in business is going to reflect on you as well. So make sure you're not just tagging on with anybody just to have a lot of links with you. Very important, to build your brand, that you know what you want to be and you know who you are. And very important to realize also any of these ads or anything else that comes up they are not your friend. You're never going to make money off of them. Okay? So don't start to think that, wow, I'll go ahead and populate a little bit with ads. I'll get some other folks' ads on my site and think that that's going to be a benefit to you. Mathematically, doesn't work.
It's a touch of evil necessity. You have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. I have my personal page, right, which is where my friends are, and a lot of the people are also in the same community, the acting community, amongst others. Then I've got my acting page, which is my official thing, where I make announcements and stuff like this. Are you now today in Facebook allowed to have another one, or are you still limited to your personal and one business?
I work through Facebook.
You can have a fan page.
You can create a fan page. You can also create groups. Those are important for building community too. You can have them private or you can have them open too. And that's another forum where you can get people to connect together, and anyone can create any number of groups. I know, at least working from an agency, we have one agency business manager where we manage 20, 30 pages at once from that business manager. So I'm not quite sure how to set that up from somebody's personal Facebook. But I know there's lots of other tools you can use, such as creating groups, creating fan pages, things like that.
I believe you can have, you definitely want to create your business page. That's very important. And I believe you can have as many fan pages as you want. So those are almost like different projects. And I'm going to talk about something in a couple of other meetings that really worked for me to help organize my thinking for how to write before I post. And it's hub, parent, child, okay? Hub, parent, child. So you are your hub. Your business is your hub. Somebody's getting a call from outer space. So your hub, I produce, I direct, I edit, right? I shoot, I do streaming. So that's my hub, right? So, and we all have different aspects of what we do, especially when you start a business, you get your career going, you'll see that you produce and you direct. There's a lot of different things. In San Diego, we're all multi-hat wearing people. So then you go into, say, cinematography. Now, I had a client that I did a project for, okay? And you add that to your website, you add that to your post. That's your parent, okay? Off of your parent, then you can have a child. So when I was doing cinematography, I worked on this client, and we did this. We did X, Y, Z. Within that, I used this camera, this type of lighting. This was the approach I wanted to use. This is the child. So that's really helped me understand how the hierarchy of how I should organize my information to get the message out, because it's so daunting to get all of this going. That has helped me a lot. So, yes, question in the back? How do you make yourself more discoverable on social media platforms?
There's lots of different tactics. On Facebook, it has become more difficult to do that organically, unfortunately. At the beginning of this year, they announced an algorithm change to where they were showing, Facebook said that they would show more of your friends and family's posts rather than a business page's post. So if you have a business page, it is becoming more difficult to be found organically just by, creating content, creating posts. I would highly suggest people who are serious about Facebook to look and learn about advertising on Facebook, because that has not changed. Advertising is, Facebook's really pay to play now, and they're becoming more so.
Yeah, this is what's up right now. There's
Yeah.
really, talk about this, Daniela. There's really two ways to create an ad.
Right. So
You make an ad or you boost a post.
Yeah, so you can
basically.
create an ad, an ads manager, and I don't really the interface for creating ads. It's a little complicated, but it gets easier as you get used to it. There's lots of YouTube videos and different tutorials that can help with that. Really delve into that. Once you get used to it, it's not too bad. Or you can boost a post. If you have a business page, you might have noticed there's a little boost post button that you can click, and that's pretty easy. That's what it means when you boost a post is because of Facebook's algorithm, if you just post something, you're getting organic reach, unpaid reach automatically, and you might see that it's pretty low. You might have 1,000 followers and maybe 20, 30 of them see the post. That's not very much. That's because Facebook is holding back people from you, and if you pay them, they will show it to more people, and they can even show it to a target audience, a specific audience, who do you want to reach, what do you want them to do, people. So that's what boosting a post is. And for the ads and ads manager, I like to say, when smartphones came out, everyone would say things like, there's an app for that, because it was just suddenly just a million apps out there that could do a million different things. Same thing with Facebook. Facebook is a really good, very sophisticated advertising framework. And if let's say you want to grow your following, you want to get more followers on your page, there is something called a page-like ad, and that you can create your list of what kind of person you want. Let's say I want people in the San Diego area between the ages of 35 and 45 who are interested in this kind of movie. You can do that, and you can target those people with a page-like ad. I don't know if you've seen on Facebook, sometimes you'll be scrolling and it'll show something for another page, and there's a little button that says like. So it's an ad that's optimized to get people to like a page, and it's showing it to a very specific audience. And you can do that through Ads Manager. If you want to generate leads, if you want to collect emails, if you have a newsletter, this is a really great tool to use. There is a lead ad you can create on Facebook. There are web click ads. If you want to drive people to your website, you can create a web click ad. And when you do any of this, you can always create a target audience. So you're only reaching the people who you want to reach. And these ads are great because you'll be running them, and you'll see, you're testing maybe 3 different ad images for a web click ad to drive people to your website. One ad is driving tons of traffic, one ad's not doing very well. You can shut off those ads that aren't performing well and push most of your advertising budget towards the ad that is doing well. And this is why I love social media marketing so much. It's different than traditional marketing in that you can't change a traditional marketing campaign as easily. Let's say you have a billboard campaign. The billboard is not really resonating with your audience the way you want it to. You would have to redo the billboard, put it back up.
Not that you'd even be able to tell.
Right. It's very difficult to tell, too. So the beauty of social media marketing is that you can change your approach pretty easily, and no loss of your budget, really. And you can tweak it and make it work for you. So I know a lot of people are intimidated by advertising on Facebook. Just test it out. Just if you have $50 to spend, learn about ads on Facebook and pick an ad that you feel is most important for you and start testing out with it. It can't hurt.
Mickey, you have anything to add to that? Or
No, that's pretty
she
straightforward. No question.
covered it very well.
This boost a post, I keep seeing that. You want to boost your post. You want to boost your post. I get that all the time after I posted on this thing. Are
They
they
want
just
your
going
money.
to reach into my bank account and take this out? I mean, how much is that? And
No, you can start with 10, 15 bucks.
Yeah, what you do is you set your budget. So you have to connect to, I believe, a credit card. That's the only way I've ever done it. Connect to a card. You link it with Facebook, so now they have your card information. I believe so. Yeah, I believe you can do it with PayPal. Right. So whatever you're more comfortable with, do that, and you set a budget. Facebook's not going to go over your budget. So you can say, when you boost a post, you can say, I want to boost this for $10 for 1 week. And that's usually what I do. That's how much. It doesn't take that much to get,
And this is just Facebook. We'll get into Instagram. Right. I almost think that Instagram is coming on strong. And there's ways to, I almost think, possibly better interaction with Instagram. I would think Facebook and Instagram is what I'm learning as I'm getting into this, kind of a 1-2 punch, and you may actually get more interactivity with Instagram. There's a lot to be discovered, though.
With Facebook, though, you have the ability to choose where your ads show. So you can choose for it to only show on mobile devices. You can choose it to show all the time. You can choose that it only shows on Instagram. A lot of it really depends on who your audience is and what tools or channels they prefer to use. If you're targeting younger people, the younger audience, even those who are here, they tend to be in Instagram, Snapchat. Those are the channels they're using. If you're targeting older professionals, they're on LinkedIn, they're on Twitter, they're on Facebook. It really depends on who your audience is, and that's really what when you're choosing to advertise, you need to know who your audience is. And if that you don't know that answer yet, that's where you got to start.
Let's move on to Instagram, because a lot of this starts to, you'll see, all of this starts to blend together, and the approach is the same. Your voice needs to be a little different, just as Mickey was referring, right? So talk about how you would approach your voice in these different aspects.
Sure. So like she said, Instagram is a younger demographic. It tends to be really focused on the inspirational and the aspirational and photos. A lot of imagery, not too much text. People don't really expect to see that too much on Instagram. It's harder to push people to a website using Instagram, but Instagram is really great for generating awareness and interest and brand loyalty or personality loyalty. If you, let's say you're an actor or producer or something like that, it's really great for behind the scenes type of stuff. That's what people expect to see on Instagram, is if you're doing a shoot, behind the scenes on the shoot, that's a really great way to use it. For Yellow Line Digital, whenever we're shooting videos, I would take a photo, or if we're redecorating the office, I would take a photo or a company lunch, something like that. People like to see your personality on Instagram. Comparing this to maybe LinkedIn, you would act very differently on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a more professional website. You wouldn't want to show you having pizza with a colleague on LinkedIn. It just would look weird there because it's a professional site. You might want to share a thought piece you did, or something from a video would be a great thing to share, or an article that you found relevant with your own little blurb about it. Instagram, I would say, focus on behind the scenes, focus on beautiful, inspirational imagery, share about yourself, give the audience a little insight to who you are, your passions. People, it's like I said, it's inspirational. Share why you're doing what you do. That's what people want to see on Instagram.
Yeah. Mickey?
Instagram's also your hashtag capital of the world. Honestly, I mean, you'll see a lot of hashtags used in Twitter, but the use is a little bit different. Instagram tends to be very hashtag heavy because they're trying to, all those behind the scenes, all those categories. So for instance, if we were going to share an image from this meeting, it would be hashtag SDMediaPros. It would be hashtag media learning, hashtag film education, these kinds of things, because all of that comes together in what we talk about. So when you're sharing on Instagram, think about the different short phrases or single words that relate to what you're sharing or what you do. So if you're sharing an actor profile or something that you're doing, maybe it's hashtag name of the film, hashtag actors, hashtag the region for that actor, or where that film is taking place. Those are the things to start considering. Don't go overboard.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon for an Instagram image to come with as many as 10 to 15 different hashtags with no other text.
That's not best practice. So
It's not worst practice either.
So I mean, exactly. So your production company, your film, your TV show, whatever you're working on, and then some other kind of almost like a call to action word, filming, or so video DNA, edit. Video DNA, that's my company, right? Streaming today, something like that. Video DNA streaming, that kind of a thing. So it's important to keep everybody understanding where the hashtag's coming from. You don't want to just throw one out there that really doesn't have anything to do with you, do you? I mean, doesn't it just get lost?
No, it's the great thing about Instagram versus Facebook is that using hashtags, you can be found that way. You can be found by people, whereas people don't really use hashtags too much on Facebook. It's harder to get found using them. But on Instagram, let's say you want to get found by an agent. You could do hashtag actor, and maybe agents are looking through that hashtag. I search hashtags when I want to learn more about something.
There's a purpose for a generic hashtag.
Right. So I like to research travel and travel destinations. So I'll look up hashtag the place I want to go to, or the actual location. You can search by location, or if I want to see, I'm pregnant right now, so I like to see like other pregnant. Thank you. I like to see other like pregnant photos of people around the same trimester as I am. So I'll look up hashtag 15 weeks pregnant. And that's how it's like using Google almost, but you're using it using hashtags. So someone who wants to find somebody like you, think about what hashtags they would be searching to find somebody like you. So hashtag actor, hashtag producer.
And as
your hashtags serve as your keywords.
Right.
Okay, that's the primary purpose. It's a keyword attached to your image. So that keyword can relate to you, the individual, you, the business, or the activity occurring about that the image is about, or the video.
So it's two purpose to coordinate with other professionals in the realm of what you're interested in, right? And so now you're learning from one another, you're creating relationships in a vertical, right? Now, while you're doing that, you're putting your message out there. People that are looking for services, Mr. Customer over here, is looking for people in that vertical. So now they don't know. So, video producer or cinematographer or videographer, all these kinds of things that we would get work doing. If you're joining that flow, if you will, you would be possibly get chosen because, the other guy's in Des Moines and the person that needs work is in San Diego. And so they're not going to choose him, they're going to choose you. So that's one of the reasons for how you manage that.
Two questions. How do you localize that? For instance, I say hashtag stunt work. Well, that's great, but then I'm in stunt work, and with Hungarians, I've got Czechs, I've got Japanese samurai, you've got this huge thing. How do you say San Diego in that hashtag so people see, there's stunt work going on in San Diego or the LA San Diego basin, as opposed to all the stunt work in the entire world under this bloody hashtag.
Right, yeah. Well, I would look up
Good question.
variations of hashtag San Diego Stuntwork or hashtag Stuntwork San Diego. That might already exist. And sometimes people search for things as specific as that. For example, for Yellow Line, when I was doing their Instagram, I would do San Diego Agency, hashtag San Diego Agency. So, and I would get a lot of local likes from local people in the area because they were searching that hashtag. So look up that hashtag, see if it's in use. It might be already. If not, that's almost better for you because if someone happens to search it, you're the only one using that hashtag. So they're going to only see you. So you can even start a hashtag, really. Just make it easy to search. And if someone stumbles on it, that's all the better for you. Unfortunately, you can't do a hashtag and then attach a location to it. That's the problem. Like that is a tricky thing. But you can also include a location in your post. So if someone clicks on the more generic hashtag, what was it again? Stunt work. If they click on your post, they could see the location. If you tag a location, it'll say that on the top of your post. They'll see, okay, he's in this area. Just how you can tell that there's some other people are in Hungary or whatnot. Right, exactly. So yeah, that is a tricky thing. It's hard to kind of squeeze it down to just people in one area. But definitely look up the hashtags, Stuntwork San Diego or San Diego Stuntwork,
Right.
et cetera. There's a question over there.
Question? Yeah.
You touched on earlier that a large number of the youth are using Instagram and Snapchat. Is Snapchat like a viable platform to market your business or personality, or is that something that's not really used right now because it's a platform that demands constant content creation?
So Snapchat is an interesting little tool, and when it started,
didn't
it
make
was
our
kind of a
hit
scary
list.
thing
It's not on the
for businesses, and they shied away from it because it was being used for corporate espionage. Go Snapchat. However, like I said, it depends on your audience. If your target audience is a younger demographic, then absolutely use Snapchat. The tools and techniques are going to be a little bit different, and we don't really cover them here tonight, unfortunately. But yeah, it's the same thing. If that's who you need to speak to, then that's where you need to be. In a lot of ways, we have to go to where the audience is, not expect them to come to you. It doesn't work that way in social.
Yeah. So let's get back to some nuts and bolts here. Basically, and I'll have a little bit more detail on this too. So this here shows the basic layout of how things work. And as Mickey and I were putting this together, so when you're putting your headshot or your logo together, 400 by 400 will get displayed properly pretty much across all of them. They'll size it down to whatever they want to do. Here, there's different ways that once you hit, if you go to the website, a square image will display like this, but then it'll come up full size when you click on it. And a landscape image will display, well, that's what it displays like when it comes up full image. And a portrait comes up in that display right there.
Right, so Instagram, if you go to somebody's profile, it's going to look like a bunch of blocks. That's what it looks like. And regardless of the size of the original content that you shared. So if you are sharing a widescreen,
they'll do a center
horizontal
cut on
style
your stuff.
Video or vertical, it doesn't really matter. They're going to shrink it down to basically that center square. So whatever you're choosing to share, keep in mind that Instagram specifically is going to crop it into that lovely little square shape, and that's what they're going to see until they click on it and it opens up.
Are they cropping the edges off, or are they shrinking it down with blocks?
Generally speaking, for Instagram, it's cropped.
Yeah.
It's cropped. So
Center
if you
cut.
are regularly posting to Instagram, there are multiple applications that you can use that will allow you to do that cropping yourself before you drop it into Instagram so that you control all of that.
So I basically just went through, I didn't have an Instagram account. You just put your basic information in. You can link it to your phone or your email address. You can add a photo. This is I've been using this for a very long time. And something I learned just the other day, though, is you may want to, so I may want to put video DNA as a part of that now, big enough so that it would read at that size. So that, because this is my personal one, this is the one I've been using for a long time, but I'm realizing now it doesn't quite have enough of an anchor for my business side of things. But you don't necessarily want to just do a logo either, because a lot of this stuff, people believe faces. You know, it's a human person.
They like the human side of it. That's why we're on
You know,
social.
they want to see that there's somebody on the other side of it. So your bio, which I haven't done yet, 250 characters. You can put your hashtags in there. So now you can create new hashtags for yourself and build that into your bio. Or you can write out a sentence. You'll see, as you start investigating a little bit, you'll see examples of both. And you know, if you got a killer description for your business, what you do, you put that in there, and then you include a few hashtags, and before you know it, you're going to be at your 250 characters, and you're going to be done. You can update that, and there is some rationale about updating that on a semi-regular basis. So here's some other things. You actually can sell products through Instagram. You can really reach out. So if you're pushing your film or a particular production that you did, you want to be sure that there's a picture attached to it, not just words. And Mickey and I talked about that before, because everybody's attracted to an image, not just a product shot. If you do contests, apparently this is an interesting way to raise, and I have a client right now where I think we will be doing this, but you have to be careful. There's some horror stories out there where people have said, you know, come on in and, you know, get a free icy or whatever, right? And 10,000 people want to do it, right? You've got to control it. And then there is a disclaimer that must accompany it. So as you get into this, I mean, if you wanted to do a promotion for your company and give away something, or if you wanted to do a promotion for your film or something like that, this could be an option to create a contest, because people love to win stuff, you know, get stuff for free. You know, Instagram is really good for engagement. You know, you have to be willing to share what you're doing and then put your specific hashtags into that and loop around to your business, right? You don't always want to be hitting buy my product or, you know, I do video production. It's sharing experiences, and frankly, people believe you more from sharing your experiences. They say, oh, obviously these people have been doing this. You know, here's an instance where they're talking about it. So it's much more believable to put it that way.
If I can add to that? Or
Yes,
we can do
please.
that question first.
Go ahead, because I got a question about video.
Okay. Well, adding to that about not always trying to sell to your audience or even like sell yourself if you're trying to gain work. There's a book, I don't know if any of you have heard of it, by Gary Vaynerchuk. It's called Jab, 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 Right Hook. Anyone heard of it? You heard of it? Yeah. It's a great book. Yeah, so that in boxing terms, what he's talking about there is that when you are providing content to your audience, it should mostly be jabs. So when you're boxing, jab, 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 you're giving them little tidbits of content snackable pieces of content that's useful to them, that's entertaining, that's fun, that's informative. And then and only then you go for your right hook, which is your sale, your big ask, like work with me, buy something from me. And that's how you really prime your audience to be receptive of that call to action that you'll be throwing at them. And I've used that method many times, and it works. It's a good, simple method of delivering content that people will be receptive to. Go ahead.
Okay, on that line of jab, right hook, what is the timeline of throwing those jabs and then finally throwing that right hook? So what's a balance of throwing too many jabs and too many right hooks then?
So in the marketing world, there is mostly agreed on the 80-20 rule. So 80% of your content should be audience-centric, which are the jabs. 20% should be your brand-centric, your calls to action, your asks of your audience. When those happen, they should be kind of interspersed, you know. When I do content, I have 3 content categories. 2 are so it kind of follows the 80-20 rule. So 2 are the audience-centric jab ones, and I do those throughout maybe for a week. And then I'll have my 3rd content category, which is the right hook, which is the asks, the call to action. And I'll do that maybe once or twice a week. So that's kind of in solid terms what I do, and it works pretty well. I would also say your ads are always your right hook. So maybe you can set your frequency of your ads, maybe do those a little less frequently if you feel like people aren't, or you see engagement kind of dropping with your ads, people aren't really taking the action, maybe pull back a little, pull the reins back. That might mean that you're giving them too many right hooks and you're beating them up. You might want to give them a break for them to take a little bit more of the jabs, which doesn't sound pleasant either. But
Well, traditional advertising frequency is really important, and I always use this example. I mean, if you do, and when you do start, because I believe all of us need to start to set aside a little bit of a budget to help push this stuff. Frequency is important, or consistency, I guess, in essence, because it's kind of like you see something in a magazine, right? You go, I might want to get that, right? And then you see it in the next month, right? You go, oh, I might want to get that. And then when you're finally ready to buy in the 3rd or the 4th month, they don't advertise. And you can't remember where it is. It's in an old magazine. It got thrown out. It was in the newspaper. It's gone. So it's tricky. You have to have, realize that, when people buy and make decisions, this is just basic human nature. It's 3 to 4 months. And these days, the way people buy or make decisions to work with, do anything, 3 months, because they're doing all this research online, right? And they're weighing all these different options. So it takes so long to make a decision now. You have to be in this for the long haul.
right.
You really have to be in this. And I've heard instances where, customers come around 3 years later because they liked you. They always liked you. They always liked what they heard from you, but they weren't ready. And they're kind of going, gosh, I really, you don't hear this, but this is the subtext going on. I'd really like to work with them. It sounds like they're the right kind of person for what I want, and I have this project I'm going to need, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually, so that's the challenge for all of us, getting into it. So that's why I go back to my hub, parent-child rationale, because it really helps me understand these are the things that I do. This is what I want to help people understand that I do within that realm. And now I can write a few children, because those are easy and they don't have to be that long. It's 2 sentences and a picture, right? You can jab that out any time, right? It's when you're sitting at your computer doing your work. So the next challenge, which I haven't gotten to yet, is when I'm going to do it, and knowing that you have to do it as part of your business or your promotion for your film.
Exactly. On that point, a day has 24 hours. They tried to legislate that differently, and it never worked. It's
Right.
still 24 hours. Now, I understand there's a link between Instagram and Facebook, so you can post on one, it shows up in the other.
I don't know.
You have,
Yes, the answer is yes.
the short answer to that is yes. However, you can choose in Instagram if you wanted to show up in Facebook.
So is it Instagram to Facebook?
Instagram to Facebook. That's how that works, yes. And going back to your 24 hours in a day, so this gets into scheduling your posts. There are a lot of tools that are out there that can help you do that. I've used, at this point, mostly Hootsuite. You can do some scheduling within the Hootsuite is one of your choices. Yeah, Hootsuite, like a owl. H-O-O-T, suite. That's correct. So, and there are a few others that are out there. Most of it depends on how much you're willing to pay to have them post for you, to have them manage that for you.
Well,
You still have to create the posts. You still have to put in the content. You still have to put in the hashtag. All of that is you. But once you've done that, now you can schedule it to go out to the individual channels that you are using. So yes, there are only so many hours in a day. There are only so many people who are going to be on an individual channel at any given time. Once you've started posting, start checking into the analytics that are available to you within that channel. In Facebook, particularly when it comes to fan pages and business pages, there are a lot of analytics, and you can get in there and you can see when the people who are interacting with your content, what approximate hours they're there. Because I can tell you right now, the interactions with SDMediaPros content tends to happen after 7 p.m. in general across most channels. That's just where we're at, because we're business people, and that's after dinner, and we're like, oh, now I can chill back and look at what's going on my channels.
Right.
So that's,
Yeah, that's good. I mean, there is a rationale for also directing your voice also. We're going to get to LinkedIn at some point also. And personally, I've always thought of LinkedIn as purely a resume, professional outreach, if I want to talk to a colleague, right, as opposed to promoting my business, though I probably should be doing it there too, because that's where other professionals are looking at me, right? So I should be doing more there. So let's move on to Twitter. Twitter is just...
We've got a couple of questions.
Question? Okay, sure. Instagram? General.
I'm wondering what tool you can use so that you can make the image the exact size that you want it to be. So up there where it says 1500 by 500, how do I know that it's that size?
Photoshop.
You've got, you're going to need to use various photo editing tools. So there are some that are applications that are on your phone that you can access.
Like?
Photoshop is, oh my goodness. I have one that I use specifically for Instagram. I actually have to look that one up. But yeah, there are a number of other tools. In fact, Adobe makes a few of them. So if you're a Mac user, Mac heavy, there are some really great applications where you can use those in a mobile aspect.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, there are a number of applications that you can use
I got to
offline,
put a battery in here.
to make those sizes that you need.
There you go. So, question?
Okay, so I kind of have two questions here. One, how important is engaging with your audience, and what is kind of the psychology behind that? And then my second question is from a business standpoint, if you are a production company, you are primarily a B2B business, since you are either doing commercials for other businesses. How do you market and target those people, and what platform is most effective to reach those decision makers that are going to book you when they need, their photos or videos done?
Right. I can answer the first part of that. I said you're sitting at your computer doing your work, your day-to-day office work, sitting at your desk. whether you're editing, communicating with customers, doing your homework. The engagement needs to feel, certainly with all of these, but Instagram particularly, needs to feel natural. Like you're not, oh, I have to do this, or you post a little something and then you disappear for 2 days. You post a little something and you disappear. It's a little tricky. You have to almost think of it as something that you kind of just do. And I know that's a little nebulous, but when I started to get that in my head, I kind of realized, okay, it's going to have to be a window on my computer. And I'm going to have it there. And I'm going to have to start working it, every day, a little bit. And I'm going to have to see how, and certainly in the beginning, that's kind of going to be the way it's going to end up being. And I'll toss the end of that question to Kevin.
As far as, let me get your question again real quick.
B2B.
As far as B2B, how do you target the individual that you're trying to reach?
Yes, since you're primarily experienced in both side of things, strictly from the business aspect, you guys are primarily the decision makers. It's kind of Danielle's job to take a business that's trying to reach
Hang on to that,
other
I'll get some of the
businesses
batteries.
and connect the two. And I know sometimes that can be hard. So I think that would be.
That one's been dead too.
What?
I already changed the batteries in that one.
Well, it went dead. It turned off because that one was dead. So this one will work now. So I'll point to you, you hold it down.
Right, and I think that the big question it always comes back to in the B2B space as to who is that buyer you're trying to reach. What you need to remember, an interesting twist on all of this, is that a lot of senior people will rely on junior people to find folks on social media. So you may want to target both a LinkedIn and have a professional page and a Facebook, and where a more senior executive may go. But that senior executive might also lean on a more junior person who's going to go to their favorite spots, which would then be most likely Snap, to be honest, for that new hire that you've just brought out of college. So what you're going to need to do is make sure that you're speaking, and this was mentioned before, speak the language of the person that you're trying to reach. So you may have 3 different or 4 different campaigns going that is essentially saying the same thing. One is targeted to a 20-something, one is targeted to a 35 to 45, one is targeted to a more senior person. And hoping, basically, you're going to reach the person that will either be making the decision or pointing the decision maker in the right place.
I was going to add to that. So doing marketing for Yellow Line Digital as an agency, trying to get other people to hire us, so that's B2B, I like to use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great tool. They have a good advertising platform too. So on LinkedIn, I can target the chief marketing officer, and I can also target a marketing assistant. I know you can target job titles on Facebook. I heard recently that they're changing that a little bit, but at least on LinkedIn.
Not as good.
Not as good. LinkedIn definitely, since it's all about professional connections, you're not targeting the business itself, you're targeting the people in that business. And like Kevin said, you can target the people who are higher up, but it's also probably a really good idea to target the marketing assistant. Like if I'm Yellow Line and I'm trying to get another organization to work with us, I want to talk to their marketing people. Say, what are you guys doing for marketing? Can we help? And that's the conversation I want to open up. So I'm targeting that marketing assistant who might be impressed with something that we're doing, and they'll talk to their boss and say, hey, work with us. You might want to check out these people. You might want to work with them.
I did want to add something to the engagement side of things. When you're talking about having that interaction, that's why you're there. So if somebody is responding to you with a question or a comment, you want to, even if it's several days later or you didn't see it for 2 weeks, you still want to come back to them and say, thank you for the comment, let me see what I can do for you. If it is a complaint or a question, that's when you really need to be on that as quickly as possible. But they understand that you're a business. Okay, so if they're posting that at midnight, you're not going to see that until the next day anyway. So understand and manage your own expectations of their demands of you. So, but if you don't comment to them, if you don't respond, they're going to stop responding to you. And it's very, very hard to get that engagement in the first place, especially in the B2B space. Tech companies, unless they're complaining, you get next to no engagement. For filmmakers and productions, there's a lot more interest and excitement around it because everybody thinks that it's star spangled. I mean, they're like, oh my gosh, I need to know what's happening next. So depending on who your audience is, you still want to be able to come back to them and understand that their engagement with you is as much in a hope to see that there's a real person behind those posts who will respond to them as a real person.
Good. We'll move on to Twitter after this.
I had a question about video.
Okay.
What is the resolution these videos are being shot at to be optimal for these platforms? I mean, there's no reason to shoot something in 6K and put it on Instagram.
A lot of them get knocked down to 720, actually.
Yeah, so it's 720.
Yeah,
But 1080, I would put 1080 up.
You would.
Yeah.
The
H.264 and MP4.
On all of them, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
want to share video, you want to be at HD. You want to be at the highest resolution you can be, generally speaking. If you are sharing that clip to Twitter, be mindful of their specific settings. Twitter specifically wants to see that at 720. They simply cannot handle anything bigger than that.
So
Facebook,
they'll step on it though for you, won't they?
no, they won't.
Oh,
They
so
will
you
not.
have-
You have
okay.
to manage that for Twitter.
Okay.
If you're posting it from your phone, to a certain extent, it will be managed. But if we're talking about a professional level of this, you really want to make sure that it is formatted for that channel.
I think Twitter's unique in that sense.
Yes, because Facebook in the last couple of years has really put a higher emphasis on video, so they can manage it a lot better, and you're still at the higher end of HD for that responsive rate. But obviously, you can shoot in 4K and stream it. All of those kinds of things are available to you. But yeah, there are some specific formats for Facebook and Twitter, but Twitter is the one that's most prevalent on. You're mostly going to be limited by time. If you're sharing video on Instagram, you are limited to 1 minute. That's it. That's all you get.
Okay. All right. Okay, so it sounds like Twitter is a little behind the times. So again, whatever your display page, your profile page, 400 by 400. Jane, did we answer your question about how to format something? Do you have some other aspects? I always just think Photoshop because that's what I use all the time.
But I'm looking for something on the fly because
Right.
most of my photos come from my phone and then go directly to mobile. So
Okay.
I don't want to have to take the photo, put it into my computer where Photoshop is. But you're saying that you've got a tool, so.
There are several tools that you can use if you want to do editing of that photo before it goes up. But if you are talking about formatting for your header and profile, really I recommend offlining that because you want a consistency across your channels.
Yeah,
But
these are the
generally
big
speaking-
pieces so far, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, but generally speaking, if you're posting that image to whatever channel you want to upload it to, in a lot of cases, Facebook in particular, they will down-res it to what makes sense for that frame. And then you can also have the, in your photo grouping, you can have the higher res. Google Plus is one that's really good for managing that, although it's not the best channel in general.
I mean, you know, in the past, I've used Vimeo to crunch the MP4 for me. For whatever reason, something wasn't working. So we put it up at full resolution, and I needed a smaller one, and I downloaded it through Vimeo to get it. There was a period that something was wrong with the computer. It wasn't working, right? And so we had to do a quick workaround. So we just said, well, download it off there. Let's see if that'll work. And then we sent it off to our client. But
Our phones are taking images at higher and higher resolutions
Yeah.
all the time.
Right.
So having a separate photo editor, and there's a billion apps out there that are available to you to do that with, so that you can manage your crop sizes and so forth. Most of them, outside of the Photoshop application that I am aware of, do not give you full control over the pixel size, that pixel resolution. So if that's what you're looking for, you're going to be looking for a paid application. So that's the Photoshops of the world, a couple of the others.
Well, 72 DPI, right? So video is 72 DPI. So you get controlled really quickly, right? Because that's not 300 DPI there for your 1500 by 500. It's 72 DPI. Do you understand what that means? Okay.
It's a pixel density.
So I was told you're never supposed to explain it that way, but it's the easiest way. So when you do something for print, you want to do 300 DPI.
Oh, yes.
That's the accepted. So if you get something from print that's 300 DPI, you throw it into Photoshop, well, you've got this giant thing, which is great if you want to pan and scan it in a video, right? You want that big high resolution. Take something from your camera. It's that big compared to, the 1080 that you've got to work with, right? So it's great because you can squeeze it down. So, Twitter, I went ahead and signed up. I blanked out my information there, or maybe I didn't, I don't know. So you get a review back from your email. You have to go through the typical kind of like, are you who you said you are? And then what no tweets. So, of course, I guess I need to start doing that. I have 5 followers, and it only took me 2 minutes to do this. So within 2 minutes, I got 5 followers. I mean, I just did this and put it in here. So Twitter, some basic stuff here, 280 characters now for a part of your conversation. Now, do you put handles or do you put, see here, there's a handle here. Do you put handles or do you put hashtags or both in a Twitter?
Both. You can put both.
You can do both.
If you want to tag someone, you would say, at Tesla, love your cars, hashtag, I don't know, cool car,
So I'm confused. There's hashtags for Twitter. There's hashtags for Instagram. How does the system know which one? Or if you did a hashtag intending it to be on Twitter and it showed up on Instagram, does it?
If you're
How
on
does it-
the platform, it's going to post to the platform.
It's going to stay on that platform.
Unless you're using like Hootsuite, like a management platform or a management tool like Hootsuite.
And it's gonna go.
Then you want to be careful because that has happened, accidentally putting a post out on a platform you don't intend it to. But if you're on this on Twitter.com,
Right.
it's going to go to Twitter, unless
Again, there's something to be said for, because your voice needs to be different, certainly on LinkedIn. And so talk about the difference in voice for Twitter as the voice for Instagram.
So Twitter is a little bit more news-oriented. People expect up-to-the-minute information on Twitter. I mentioned before, it's acceptable to post multiple times a day on Twitter. You can post, I've seen people post 7, 8 times a day, and it doesn't seem weird. It's like a news feed. It's like a little ticker, news ticker going down for people. So little short snippets of information, always good. I've seen people, for example, if you're here and you're tweeting, you might tweet little quotes from each of us. I've seen that happen at seminars and conferences. It's mini headlines. Sometimes Twitter's been called a microblog, a blog of just headlines. And you can provide links to learn more, but Twitter's really that space where people are expecting quick little snippets to very up-to-date information. As opposed to Instagram, it's more, it's a little bit more timeless. It's more
curated.
It's definitely more curated, for sure. It's more inspirational. Twitter can be inspirational as well, but definitely it's a more curated space. Twitter, you can shoot off thoughts, on the fly, whatever you want to say. Go ahead.
So I'm on Twitter. It's probably the social media app I use the most, and something that really catches my eye is funny content and jokes and stuff. And I see a lot of businesses on Twitter using that to gain a following. So how would you recommend using that side of media with like funny things and jokes to promote products and content?
So there's a thing called trend jacking. So you can see on Twitter, they'll show the most popular hashtags going on. And trend jacking is when you insert yourself into those conversations. So you find popular hashtags, which are people currently using that hashtag in conversations. If you click on that hashtag, you'll see everybody using that hashtag, most recent uses. And so you want to be part of that conversation. Where are people talking? You want to be there. So you somehow find a way to work that hashtag into your post. I think there was one hashtag I saw, is add death ruin a movie. So you would just change one word in a movie to say something to do with death. So my big fat Greek funeral, something like that. So it was a funny thing. You would click on the hashtag and people were like changing movie titles to do something to do with death, which is usually not a funny topic at all. But changing the title of a movie, it's kind of humorous. So if you can somehow see how it works with your brand, then that's a good way to be found by a lot of people. Definitely be careful of just inserting yourself in a conversation where you don't belong, because people don't like that either. So I would say look for popular hashtags and find a way to tweet out something that has something to do with you, that can connect yourself to that hashtag, because that's where the conversation's happening.
So you can post pictures now also in Twitter. So again, this would answer Jane's question again. 1200 by 675 is what they want to, but there's a minimum there also. So I think there's probably an aspect ratio that you're looking at there that I would guess any app that you'd find that would help you.
So bear in mind, if you're sharing images on Twitter, if you're doing it offline to put it into a management program or to post separately, rather than from a mobile device, you really want to pay attention to those size parameters. If you're doing it directly from your phone, it's relatively managed there, unless you're trying to crop it to focus on a specific element of that photo, or you're wanting to add text and create your own meme directly from your phone, okay? So these are guidelines. These are what your images are likely to show up on if you're looking at it at a feed. So if your images don't seem to fit in that space, or don't,
Yeah, I just grabbed
match
this one.
perspective,
Yeah.
then that's something to be considered. Because if you post a vertical photo to Twitter, it's going to shorten it. It's going to put it into this format. It's not going to show as
It's not going to
vertical.
look right. I mean, it's just going to be, there'll be blank stuff around it.
They'll crop it down for you.
Oh.
All right, this is a short question. Is copyright dead?
No.
No.
You can't, I mean, there's big things about user-generated content. So businesses that throw a sale or they do a pop-up or something like that, and their customers are taking pictures of their product with them. So these things all make their way back to their Instagram and their Twitter feeds. If you, as the company, reuse that to promote you without getting specific direct permission from that person, you can be sued. So no, it's not dead at all. You have to, you have to be careful. Now, 9 times out of 10, people on the other side, oh, XYZ company wants to use my picture, and that's my friend, and they're okay with it. But, you can be tap dancing on a professional photographer and not knowing it, and they're definitely going to come after you. So you have to get permission for reuse, and it's user-generated content. Is a great way to promote your stuff. So
You can actually ask the users to include your hashtag or your handle in order to promote you in that process. It's a very popular promotional tool.
I mean, if you're promoting the type of things that we're doing, where it's an event, it's a film, it's a show of some kind, you could probably even just use this rationale and reach out to that person and say, hey, you took a great picture, would you mind hashtagging? And oh, by the way, you might just end it right there.
Yeah, you can end it there. You can offer them something in exchange for it. However, as a business, do not grab an image off of Google and use it as your own. They will nail you, and they will nail you hard. And if you're grabbing a professional photographer's image, those are some of the best lawsuits on the planet because they've got your ass. And they will own it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, at Google, there is a little twirl down. You got to go all the way down. Says, okay, for reuse, right? And so I use those, or I take the one that I like, I put it in Photoshop, and I emulate it.
that's really the best way to do it, is to emulate it if you want something that specific.
Right. I mean, if I find so now I'm just using it as a idea search almost to that degree. Question?
This question goes back to what we were talking about earlier with engagement. We talked about it with like Facebook and Instagram. Is it always better to have two accounts, like your professional page and then your personal page, or is it sometimes better to have one account for both so that people see like you more as a person, or is that more leaning towards being unprofessional?
Okay, so if you're talking about trying to have that conversation with businesses, you want a professional image. So my advice on that is to have separate. Keep it separate because you don't want your family stuff mixing in with business, because that can cause other
Right. And I just learned that
disasters on the other side of it.
Instagram, the business page on Instagram has more capability.
Yeah, they have analytics you can look into if you make your Instagram a business page. But it's important to have separate ones because if you do want to get a little bit personal on your business page, you can show how much. You can kind of give a little bit, but not too much. And on your personal page, you can just go crazy with the cat pictures and baby pictures. You can do whatever. But definitely, I would agree to have two different.
So does Instagram have, like in Facebook, your personal and your...
Yes.
You would actually have to create separate accounts.
Yes, you create separate accounts.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
two separate accounts.
Two separate accounts in
Yes.
Instagram, yes.
They're easy to switch back and forth. If you can add an account, so you're on your phone, and you can switch back and forth between your different accounts very easily. So it's not, it used to be a big hassle. Before you would have to log out, log in, and it was the biggest pain. And that's why I think a lot of people use Instagram now because it's easier to switch back and forth.
I thought we had plenty of time. We're getting close to our bewitching hour. There's not a whole lot more to talk about. We've already talked about LinkedIn a little bit and how your voice is different. Just fill in just a little bit more, if you would.
Right. So LinkedIn is a great site to connect with people professionally and to share content. It's a great site to build your personal brand. You can post articles native to LinkedIn. That means you don't have to link from your blog. You can actually write an article in LinkedIn. And it's a great place to establish thought leadership. So think about, what do you want to be known for? How do you want to differentiate yourself? I'm sorry?
Thought leadership.
Thought leadership,
I like
yeah.
that.
So build thought leadership, and LinkedIn is a great place to do that. And also, if you can create a business page on LinkedIn, and you can have your personal page, and then you can cross-post. You can share each other's content, and that's kind of building your own thought leadership yourself. But you're also connecting your personal connections to your business connection pretty easily. So LinkedIn is a great place to do all of that.
Oh, absolutely. For the companies, when I do their marketing, we share a lot of news in their vertical on LinkedIn. And that's where most of their engagement occurs because they're having those professional conversations. It goes right back to where your audience is, who you're trying to connect with, what the purpose is behind it. And when you're building your thought leadership, what do you want to be known for? So if you want to be known for, I am the stuntman for San Diego, you want to put that kind of content there. If you want to be known as the drone operator, then that's where you want to put your content. That's where you want to put your focus. Thought leadership is, for business, is very, very powerful Because the way the buyer works these days is they're going to go out and do their own investigation. They're going to do their own research before they even talk to anybody. They're going to talk to their friends. They're going to talk to their family. They're going to use their personal connections before they come to you. And if you can establish the fact that I am the drone operator of the county, this is who you need to talk to. So if you have, I'm like, well, drones are kind of cool. I'm kind of curious about that. I'm going to look for who the top drone person is. And I'm going to start following you. And I will start amplifying your message because I want to share it too. So that's where you establish that expertise. Okay?
Yeah.
So you want to be known as the camera person. Make sure that you are focusing on that for a certain, the majority of your posts across your channels. But LinkedIn is very specialized for that type of content.
I'm realizing all of this social media is almost how I got my business or my career going as a young person. I just did projects, I worked at local cable. I did different projects. I worked on other people's shows. I did things like that. And because of that, somebody had a client that was doing something else, and they saw me, and they realized I could do the work, and they hired me. So it was kind of proof, especially in the beginning. You got to put it out there so people can see who you are. So this really, and this is one of the purposes, I wanted to kind of have a realization, what is this for? And that's what it's for. You have to kind of put it out there, get up on the radar, and then create some, day-to-day business out of that. But if you don't get up on the radar, if you don't do something so people can see you and recognize you, they're never going to ask you if they don't know who you are.
So I did want to advise, when you're getting started on this journey, and it is a journey, and it can feel extraordinarily overwhelming when you're getting started, pick one channel, the one that you are most comfortable with on a personal level, and adapt that into your professional. Be comfortable in that space, get into a rhythm of posting, get into a rhythm of communicating with other people in that topic before you add another, before you add another, before you add another. So much of social media is a consistency problem, because if you post for a while and then you stop posting, you lose all your followers.
Yeah.
They no longer care what you say, and they're not going to interact with it, they're not going to amplify it. And what I mean by amplifying it is they like it and they share it. They comment on it. Those three activities mean that you have something that they care about, that you found the right vibe for them. So the more consistent you can get that to happen, the more people who are going to see your original messages in the first place. Facebook is very challenging because getting that to happen is painstaking.
If I had a
It's a
druthers
slow
now,
process.
I think I would start to focus on Instagram. It seems to be a little looser. You can share who you are a little bit more. Twitter's, like we said, is more of a news feed. If you want to kind of get involved, to let your voice be heard there as a professional, fine. And then Facebook, you can almost take what you do in Instagram, change a few words, write an extra paragraph. It can be a little bit longer, a mini blog, if you will, on Facebook. And then LinkedIn, I think I'm realizing that LinkedIn is becoming more important, and getting that into the mix as well. Question? You sure? Okay. Well, I walked all the way over here. Come on, here we go. See?
I have a question for Kevin. A lot of us are talking about Facebook and how it has changed, balancing personal and business. In our business, personal is business. So, but Facebook has changed its algorithms. So when we would get thousands of responses, now we're only getting maybe 100 or something. And what do you see the future of Facebook for businesses? Is it still a viable platform for us in the future? The other thing that's happening is even if you run an ad, people are getting tired of that. So there's a negative backlash that can occur too. You have to be very careful as a business how you use it. And I'm just would like to know what you see the future.
Yeah, predicting the future is always fun. That's what we do in business, is try to figure out what's going to happen tomorrow and then take action on it today so that we can be ahead of the curve. Yeah, as these folks mentioned earlier, Facebook has changed their algorithms. So it is more difficult as a business to get in front of people. What the fallout is going to be from Facebook, from their issues with Cambridge Analytica and all the other information that's coming out as far as how much information they have, we'll have to wait and see. It was a very interesting piece came out recently that said Facebook looked at, and all of the folks at Cambridge Analytica and the other companies looked at it, that Americans must know that we're mining all of your data and selling it to other companies. And they were shocked when people went, I didn't know you were doing this. So it will be really interesting to see what happens. There are other platforms out there that are making a push. Facebook does tend to skew older, as we've mentioned here. Snap is basically the platform of a younger generation. Snap is backed by, now has a large ownership share by Comcast, which is NBC. So if you start looking at those things and going at who can possibly develop or capitalize on this information, and if you look at your market is going to continue to mature, and as I think someone mentioned at the very beginning, email marketing used to be the thing, and now it's, I mean, who looks at email marketing? Well, I do actually, but it's only from a couple of companies that I request things from.
SDMediaPros.
SDMediaPros and some others, obviously. But yeah, it's an interesting thing to really look at where are you going with it and where do you want to be. And I think this was a great suggestion up here of saying start with whatever you're most comfortable with and work it. Or if you haven't started with something yet, try to determine, step back for a minute and don't worry about, my gosh, I have to be everywhere, but step back for a minute and analyze what is your marketing plan. Who is your target customer? Who is your target buyer? Who is your influencer? Who do you want to reach? Because that will help you break the various platforms into a matrix to say, well, my target person that I'm trying to reach is a 35-year-old buyer of XYZ. Well, all of a sudden now you're on a different platform. You're probably into Instagram at that point. Not so much Facebook. You're probably teetering on the edge between the two. If your target buyer is someone in their 20s, you're probably looking at Snap.
Yeah. I think we need to keep going because we're already past our time, basically. Let's just kind of do some nuts and bolts here. Google, again, this will be posted, so this is very helpful just for being sure that you're putting all the right stuff up there to get your header, get your accounts done. There it is, okay? It's all very similar, but it's all slightly different.
I'm just going to throw something in there. Google Plus is a social channel that is important if you care about the ranking of your website. If you care about the ranking of your website, cross-post.
Are you saying you have to pander to Google?
Yes, you have to pander to Google. Every company I've set this up for, honestly, it is only there to assist with their ranking issues within Google. There are some really interesting groups that are in there, so if you're using it, it can be a good place to start. But the general population just isn't there. They just aren't.
Only the other people that think they have to do it for that reason. So maybe that would be a good group to be a part of. I don't know. YouTube has changed their header setup so many different times. It's just infuriating. I can never understand why my channel doesn't look the same way as it did last time. But there's all this stuff. This is something you got to sit down and stare at to get right. Apparently, their channel icon is a little larger. Okay. This is mine. This is, I haven't really done a whole lot with this. I just put a few things up just so if I'm talking to somebody and I need to tell them a little bit about me, I have a few samples of my work. my showcase from last year, which I love. The fact that we are forced to do a promo every year. It's a good thing because it gets me off the stick and makes me put a fresh demo together. Vimeo, personally, the only way I've ever used Vimeo, and I wouldn't mind getting a little chiming in on this, is just for client review, right? This is one of my customers, and this is where we put all of our work. And this actually does, in fact, get linked to our customer's site. So it is doing a YouTube-type job a little bit more cleanly so that these commercials show up on our customers' sites. And we use it for those two purposes. But we don't promote anything really with it. We just use it as a utility.
I've noticed as an actor when I'm posting self-casts, if I link it to Vimeo, I've seen my chances go up. It's considered more of a professional platform within that community.
Yes.
Yes. I totally agree with that. YouTube, if you use YouTube to feed something on your website and somebody clicks on it, 9 times out of 10, when your video is done, there's going to be a competitor show up that does exactly what you do. And there are ways to fix that, but as Mickey said, they keep changing that.
Yeah, Google owns YouTube. FYI, Google owns them. So if Google ever changes anything, YouTube will change. The permissions-based side of things, trying to keep things private on YouTube is a challenge. So if you have any reason that you need to keep something private, don't post it to YouTube. Just don't do it. Set up a channel on Vimeo. You can control the privacy a lot better and consistently than you can with YouTube. Been there, done that, got the T-shirt twice.
It's tricky, even if you want to create a larger, wider market spread using YouTube. It's in some regards, it may be necessary, but if you're starting to channel and target a particular audience, I'd say Vimeo would be the way to go. And there's a new account that's between Pro and just your
Yes.
free one, which is less than half the price, and it may be plenty for, it may be plenty of space. Any last comments, guys?
Just same thing that you said about Vimeo. It's always good when you're posting video on Facebook. Maybe and social media is always about testing things out. So maybe test out posting a video that's the same video that's on YouTube, and then maybe a video that's on Vimeo. You might see in certain communities that if it's linked to Vimeo, it will do better. Maybe others, YouTube will do better. It doesn't hurt to test out linking to different video.
And like I said, Vimeo's become more
I do want to add to
reasonable.
that. If you're sharing video on Facebook, you're going to see a much better interaction with it if it is Facebook native, loaded directly to Facebook rather than linked from another site. However, YouTube and Vimeo especially are great places to host your video content for posting to your website and then linking to your website. So keep those things in mind. Trying to host your own videos, if they start trending, if you start getting a lot of connections, you can actually slow down everybody's access and destroy the user experience, which is why you post them to the tools that will allow that to happen easier without the lags.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people who monetize on YouTube. You
Yes.
cannot do that on Vimeo, can you?
Yes, you can.
You can.
You can monetize on Vimeo. You can post content there for rental and purchase.
Can you say a few things about that?
You do have to have the pro level to do that, but it is, if that is going to be your primary thing, is I'm making my independent TV show or what have you, you can use both channels to monetize with. YouTube monetization tends to be ad heavy. Vimeo is direct rental of the content or purchase of that content.
Okay, last final words, then I'm going to toss it to Mike Brueggemeyer. Go to SDMediaPros.org, sign up for the newsletter. That is still the #1 way to know what's going on. And even if you can't make every meeting, you will know what's happening next. And with that, I'm going to toss it over to Mike Bergemeyer.
Speaking of what's happening next, the next month's meeting is not going to be on a Wednesday. It's going to be an all-day cinematography seminar. We're bringing in a group of directors of photography to speak on a particular topic for an hour. I hopefully will have a location nailed down tomorrow. I thought I had it laid down today, but didn't get the response that I was hoping for. But among our filmmakers, we have the director of photography who just won the San Diego Film Award for cinematography. We have Gary Mansky, whose specialty is doing just beautiful product photography. We have a couple more award winners. And it's an all-day event. It happens on a Saturday. There is no fee. The whole purpose of this event is to have everybody who wants to learn about cinematography have access to it. And also community building to get you youngins out to take notes on some really high-end work and learn how to do some great stuff, but also watch how they work. The purpose, the inspiration for this event, I went to a cinematography seminar in like 1996 that was hosted by the Camera Guild in Los Angeles, and they had a group of directors of photography do 1-hour seminars, and they had people who do television, people who do films. They had Vilmos Zsigmond and Brian Reynolds, who shot NYPD Blue, and Haskell Wexler, and it was a pretty amazing day. But what was really interesting about it to me is these people are doing lighting seminars, and I'm watching them work and figuring out that some of them are just kind of fumbling their way through the day, and some of them, the most informative one was Haskell Wexler, where he just walked in and had his gaffer and key grip, and he said, okay, here's the shot we're going to do. I want a 2.8 here, I want a 4 here, I want her to be rim light here, I want her to land in this pocket of light. And then he turns around and talks to the audience about how he's thinking about the shot while they go off and work, and they get the shot lit in 15 minutes because they're so used to taking the artistry in their own hands. And I really liked seeing that. So I want to bring that same kind of experience to San Diego and have you watch real, beautiful cinematography happen.
They'll be speaking for an hour each or an hour?
They'll be speaking for an hour each. We're going to have a group. We're going to have a seminar on product photography for an hour. We're going to have a seminar on how to do make something look like the Old West for an hour. We're going to have throughout the day, and we're going to break for lunch. Now, the only fee associated with this whole event is that we're going to charge for lunch, $15. And what that means is we're going to order you a lunch so that when you break for lunch, the lunch will arrive and you can stay on site and continue to network and ask questions and harass people and continue the learning.
My personal favorite.
It's Saturday, May 19th.
Saturday, May 19th. Yeah. Good. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. All right. I want to thank Daniela McClintock. Thank you very much. And Kevin, forgot your last name. Kevin Culbertson. There we go. Thank you, guys. And thank everybody. Here we go. We'll see you at the